Everyone, we're going to go ahead and get started with our Commissioner Status Update meeting. Today's date is May 13th, 2025. The time is 10 a.m. In attendance are Commissioners Eberline, Duncan, and Matari. I'm going to call this meeting to order. Are there any changes to the agenda? Hearing none. Public comment? Hearing none. We'll move on to our first item, Justice Building Update with David Mendez.
Good morning, Commissioners. David Mendez with Turner & Townsend Heery. Just to report on what we've done in the past week. I don't have an updated sheet for you. It has not changed since last meeting. We are working at, we talked about the yellow items that weren't finalized in pricing. The contractor is working through those issues right now. The biggest thing that happened this week is yesterday, the design team came up. They did their first punch list. If you're not familiar with the punch list, the design team comes to make sure that all of the details of the project have met the plans and specifications. They come up with that list, then the contractor makes adjustments, and then we finalize, we work towards final acceptance from the city to get our temporary use permit that allows temporary occupancy, that allows us to occupy the building. So we're working quickly towards that. We're still on schedule for the first week in January to be complete.
June.
I'm sorry, January. June of this year. And we're also working, another budgetary item is we're working to finalize and close out the soft cost portion of the sheet that I give you. So we've got the contingency items. We're closing those out. And we'll close out the soft cost parts of that. We have some items that have overrun that we'll need to account for. For instance, temporary utilities. Heating that building through the winter was very costly in order to keep with the schedule. So we'll have some overages and some underages. So it's all looking good budget-wise.
Thank you. Any questions? Okay. Hearing none. Thank you very much. Jeff, did you want to add anything?
No, I don't have anything to add. So, yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks. Okay. Moving on to item 2. Second quarter 2025 quarterly financial statement presentation, and Kyle Westerman.
Good morning, Commissioners. Kyle Westerman, Senior Accountant for the record. We're going to go over the second quarter financial statements. These are unaudited financial statements, meaning they come from our financial system. No outside firm has audited them for us. If you guys have your books, I'll provide page numbers so you guys can kind of follow along. We're going to go ahead and start on page 1. This is a summary of all the elected officials and where they're at as a whole. The only elected officials that are towards the edge of their budgets or over their budgets right now are the BOCC and their debt services, which is the airport lease payments. And then the clerk is at 106% of their debt services from a little bit of an overage to a debt service. It's a debt book subscription software that we use to track all our leases. It was a little over budget. And then on page 2, this kind of just goes over where we started at in terms of our adopted budgets and then any budget adjustments that have happened so far through March 31st, 2025. The top is just capital carry forwards, and then down below it's either grant budget adjustments or just a normal adjustments, and then any projects or capital purchase that they've come before you guys to get adjustments for. And then we're going to go ahead and flip to page 20, and we'll go ahead and look at our revenue so far this year. Specifically, this is property tax revenue. Now, we normally get property tax revenues. We get a bulk of our property tax revenues twice a year, once in December, once in June. So at this point, we'd be looking at, just want to make sure we're over 50%. We're currently sitting at 61% of total property tax revenue collected. So we're doing pretty good there. And then continuing with revenue on page 27, We have our state shares of revenue, so sales tax, revenue sharing, along with any interest or investment income that we might have. As of March 31st, we hadn't received our Q2 payment, which is really typical. I did look we got it as of March 5th, or May 5th, excuse me. We had received both our revenue sharing and our sales tax, and it puts us at 49% of our budgeted revenue collected, which is pretty good. A little bit lower than that 50% mark we kind of anticipated, but hopefully the summer months, more people are buying stuff. And then we have made progress in terms of our gain or loss on investments. At the end of the first quarter, we were sitting at a loss on our investments of about $940,000. We're currently sitting at a loss of $234,000, which at the end of the year will be combined with any of our interest to give us our total investment income. But we're making progress on that as well. And then finally, we'll go over any of the departments that are they're a little ahead of schedule on what they're spending so far. For Q2, we look at anything that's over 62% spent of their budget. Since it's a little bit more than 50%, but it's also reasonable within that range. The first one I'll talk about is liability insurance. We have made both of our payments, but we are at 95% spent. But that's expected. The next one would be letter D, which is parks operation. Their B budget's at 62% spent, which is right there at our cutoff. That looks to be mostly from a lease payment for their operating lease that they paid in January. Again, on letter E, we see the overage that I talked about earlier in terms of debt book for the clerk's debt services budget. Letter F is elections. I know they've come before the board already and kind of explained how they're doing in terms of their expenses, and a lot of that has to do with the November election, so we should be okay there. And then on the next page, both animal control and detectives capital budgets are either at 100% or nearly there. However, they both had budgeted expenses for new vehicles or the such, and so they've essentially fully spent them. The maintenance department is at 71% of their B budget, which is their operating expenses, primarily due to their supplies budgets, maintenance budgets. And it seems to be the expanded space in like Casey North and stuff like that, just to kind of increase the budget a little bit. And then finally, jail, which I also know has come before the board and discussed their budget, specifically with their jail medical and their medication budgets, which is what we're seeing here as well with the B budget at 77%. Right now we have them trending over budget by about $1.1 million for their medical contracted services expense, which I know they discussed. And as of March 31st, their medication budget was about 424% of what we budgeted. So 4.5 times almost. And other than that, those are kind of the biggest ticket items. And let me know if you have any questions.
Thank you. Any questions?
Yeah, I wasn't here when the jail medical came forward to say that, they were going to be overspent. Was there a line item that nothing was mentioned on how we're going to pay for that?
No, I was at that meeting, and based on the discussion, there was not really any decision or direction given by the board. So I've actually already communicated with the sheriff's office. They need to come before the board and ask for $1,153,274 to make up the shortfall for the rest of this fiscal year for that contract. They do not have any A or B budget savings to cover the overage, so they'll have to request fund balance. And I believe they're slated to come before the board in the next week or so at a business meeting to do that.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? I'm just curious, outside of the medical, which, is something that we really don't have much control over. We have to pay it. Is there anything else that kind of stands out to you that says this isn't, it doesn't make sense? Our B budget, we spend too much, and obviously sometimes there's seasonality with things like that. Anything that stands out to you?
I think for the most part, it seems pretty reasonable. There's
Yeah.
nothing really that's a red flag or anything right now.
Yeah. And as far as the shared revenues, is there any historical data that says if they come in a little bit below the 50%, it's made up in the summertime, that there is some seasonality on that?
Usually the payments in the spring and summer are the highest.
Yeah. So if we come in at 49% in the winter, maybe we might come in at 53, 54, 55% in the summer, because the winter months are actually a bellwether of the summer months.
Exactly.
Yeah. So we could end up exceeding our budgeted revenues pretty easily.
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, on that fact, tourism kind of, drives sales tax to a certain degree, so.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. That's it for me. If there's nothing else, thank you very much. Okay, on to item number 3, solid waste. It's an executive session, and I'll take a motion.
I move that we enter into executive session pursuant to Idaho Code 742061D.
Second.
Commissioner Eberline? Aye. Commissioner Duncan?
Aye.
Chairman Tarek?
Aye. 10:31, I'll take a motion to exit executive session.
I move we exit executive session with staff to proceed as discussed.
Commissioner Eberline? Commissioner Duncan?
Aye.
Chairman Torrey?
Aye. Public comment? Hearing none, 10:31, meeting adjourned.